On April 7th, 2020, just a couple of days after my family had reached Saipan, where I am right now, I tweeted out a tweet that said, "I traveled to the end of the empire to watch the end of the empire." This is April of 2020. So this is like the beginning, basically, of the COVID stuff. And since that time, I have been operating off that thesis. At that moment, what I was seeing told me that I was watching the end of an empire, specifically the end of the American empire, Pax Americana. And I traveled out to a place that was at the end of the empire because what I understood was empires recede. And when they recede, the places that are the liminal spaces at the end of the empire are the most interesting places that have the most opportunity and actually end up with the most sort of, they get legendary status. And in fact, some of them actually become the capitals of the next empire. So this is true of Britain being the end of the Roman Empire. This is true of America being the end point, the terminus of the British Empire. And so this is the end point of the American Empire, is right out here on these islands. And I want to talk just a little bit about what this pattern looks like, especially now in light of the most recent debate between Biden and Trump, which I think really illustrated it and had some interesting patterns that if you haven't studied the history of empire, you may not know. And I also want to talk about its relationship to currency. So maybe I'll start with the currency first. If you want to talk about sea empires, which is the type of empire that the United States is, you cannot separate sea empires from currency. For thousands and thousands of years, sea empires determine the global currency. So we could take this from the Phoenicians to the Venetians, to the Romans who had control over much of the Mediterranean, to the Dutch, to the British, to the Spanish, quite importantly. These are all empires that have determined what the global reserve currency is going to be. And that's obvious because what is a sea empire all about? It's a trading empire. Sea empire as opposed to land empire. Land empires are called continental empires. You could see this theory. Dugin and many other political theorists over the centuries have talked about the differences between land empires and sea empires and have brought up many interesting theories and ways and frameworks of viewing it. Russia is a land empire. China is a land empire. America is a sea empire, clearly. And right now, the American empire, the dollar, we are determining that we're coming to the end. We can look at all of the sort of macroeconomic things and all of the pointers are there, but there's some things to look at that are just these sort of natural things that pop out in a cycle. Why did I know in 2020 it was the end of the empire? Plagues are the harbingers of the end of the empire. Some people would say that they end empires. They don't. Often the right thing to say is that they set up the conditions for the empire to be done. So you look and you will see plagues. Also wars, of course, which we have going on now, and wars have broken out since then, although wars now are quite different. So we do have some wars, and I've done, you could go and look at videos talking about World War III being a currency war, which is, of course, appropriate to this particular video. But there's even another one if you watch the debate. Some of the things to understand, if we look back at the last two big empires before the American Empire, okay? And these were in existence and interacting with the early colonial Americans. And those two empires are the Spanish Empire and the British Empire. And one of the things that we see at where we mark let's see, the end of the empire and then the empire going into a massive decline, we have a leader who can't walk and can't talk, or can't talk. There's something about the leader of the empire being unable to speak and unable to move. Okay? So in Spain, this would have been marked by Charles II, the last Habsburg emperor, who was completely deformed. You've seen the thing with the Habsburg jaw. He could barely speak. he couldn't eat because of his deformity, and he certainly didn't have children. And that was one of the reasons why there was a war of succession after his death in 1700. And yes, the Spanish Empire did still move on. A lot of that was because you had communication, you had a lot of independent action taking place throughout the empire, and the empire was rather large. You had some capable bureaucrats, but still, this is really marked as the end of the Habsburg lineage, and also that's the decline of the empire goes. And of course, the U.S. took even regions very close to here in the Marianas, in this island chain, from Spain in the Spanish-American War, and that started, actually, the American Empire is built on top of the old Spanish Empire, okay? So the Americans took Philippines, Guam, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and other territories from Spain at that time, and that really helped to kick off the American Empire. The other one is, of course, the British Empire. And if you look at who was king during the time that the most important sort of declining catalyst of the British Empire took place, that's going to be King George VI, and that's going to be Indian independence, the loss of India, right? Because these empires are, if you look at sea empires are machines. They are machines about trade and about currency moving in one direction and goods moving in another. And the Spanish is perhaps the most important one. The peso was the Spanish peso, the Spanish silver dollar was the official currency of the U.S. when it started. It didn't have a U.S. dollar when it started. The official currency, the legal tender, was the Spanish silver dollar. There's something very important to understand. We were within the American experience happened completely inside of the activity of the New World of the Spanish Empire and what was going on, okay? So these are some things to think about. Can't walk, can't talk. Did you see the debate between Biden and Trump? This is it, right? King George VI, terrible stutterer. They made a movie about it, right? With Jeffrey Rush, The King's Speech. He was the king during World War II. If you go back and listen to him speak, it's halting. It's really difficult. There's old clips of King George speaking. He did overcome the stutter to do public speaking, but very difficult. Very, very difficult. So, is this from inbreeding? What is this from? But this is the thing that you wind up with that. Okay, these are all the catalysts and the signs at the end of an empire. That there would even be a situation where the emperor could be someone who could conceivably be someone who couldn't speak, who couldn't, hold two thoughts in their head, who was deformed, who couldn't walk. King Charles II didn't walk until the age of 8 or 10, and yet he was the emperor. Okay, and now we have an emperor who could barely get up a flight of stairs to get into his airplane. Okay, so these are interesting things. They have massive effect, but important to this is the currency angle. Studying the currency, if you were to do nothing but look at just currency and look at the ends of these empires and the histories of these empires and look at just the technology of currency, and how it changed, you can predict who the next CM empire is going to be. And so right now, we have the opportunity to look and see, obviously there's a lot of currency stuff going on. People are vying for it. This is, if you want to go deep, and I want you to go deep, you want to understand what does the end of the empire look like. You want to understand why I came geographically to this end of the empire and what my views are on that. We go deep in Bitcoin Mystery School. The currency curriculum, we just have a few slots left. I think there's like 5 slots left out of 30 for the July 19th course. So I would love to see you. I would love to educate you on this, to show you and reveal to you some of these things. We go deep into the history of currency, and then we talk about what are the new technologies now, and I think you know what the new technologies are, and they always come up right at the end of an empire. So we're perfectly on track with all of the pieces. So bitcoinmysteryschool.com, come check it out. As I said, there's only about 5 more slots left. I don't know if I will do another one this summer after July 19th. So if you want this info, if it's crucial to you, I'd love to see you there. and I'll talk to you next time.